If you found out we weren't alone and it was proven, shown to you, what would you think? Would you be frightened? That's the whole point of Disclosure Day, the new Steven Spielberg movie that released earlier this month. So we're going to dive into it and help you decide whether or not it's the right movie to watch as a Christian right now. Hey friends, welcome to the channel. I'm your host Tim, and we exist to help Christians live in the world, not of the world, by utilizing our convictions in the movies and shows we watch. Disclosure Day is rated PG-13, so we're going to dive into 5 areas of convictions that may distract or hinder your relationship with Jesus, any theological themes present within the movie, and then wrap it up with my own personal thoughts on the film. Without further ado, let's dive into the Christian Conviction Meter. And within this film, there is some car chases, a bit of some gunfighting. There's a lot of chasing going on within this movie because it is a movie on the run. There's also some cuts, scrapes, minor bruising, things of that sort also contained within the movie. The biggest kind of action sequence is along with a train, which does cause a car crash. It's not like very explosive, it's just very damaging and things of that sort within the movie. All of that to say, we are going to give this a 3 out of 5 within this category. Our next category is lust, and while there isn't anything contained within the movie, I will say this: there is a character who does say that they had sex once. That's about it. That's the only part of lust that is contained within the movie. So we are going to give this a 0 out of 5 in this category. Our next category is substances. And the most we see here is like a pill that's put within water, and then also a reference to ketamine as well, about a character who used to take that during his college years, things of that sort. But there isn't any other explicit drug use contained within the film. Just to be on the safe side, however, I am going to give this a 1 out of 5, just once again to be kind of on the safer side here. Our next category is profanity, and there, I believe, was some uses of God and Jesus in a more reactionary way rather than praise and worship. At the same time as well, most of what we see, at least profanity language-wise, is actually the use of the F word. There is one that was kind of cut off, so it isn't fully used within the film. There is one fully used within the film, though, which again, as a reminder, PG-13 films allow at least one use of the F word within every PG-13 film to keep it at a PG-13 rating. That's a lot of times I said PG-13, but again, just because of the fact that it does use the F word here, we are going to give this a 4 out of 5 in this category. Our next category is intense/horror scenes. This is not a horror movie in any way, shape, or form, but this is a thriller. There is a lot of chasing within this movie. Lots of it, lots of crashes and things of that sort. That is a part of the movie as well. And being hunted, things of that sort within the movie. There is a few more disturbing sequences within the movie, namely a lot of mind control games and things of that sort that some characters are playing with some technology that they really shouldn't be using. At the same time as well, there is a few alien sequences that may be disturbing for younger viewers or those who are a little bit squeamish, things of that sort. It's not like crazy, violent, or just gross. It's just eerie and creepy within the movie, and so that is something to kind of keep in mind within the film. There is also a character who reveals just people's thoughts within the movie. Some of them can be darker thoughts or suspicions, things of that sort. And one sequence, the character tells another to like call the police because this person is very dangerous, which can be pretty shocking, especially in watching this movie. All of that to say, though, it is still fairly moderate in all of this, and so we are going to give this a 3 out of 5 in this category. So our grand total on the conviction meter is going to be a 12 out of 25. It is around that halfway point, but once again, it is a little bit more than moderate, and of course it's profanity, and then it's moderate in its intensity as well as its violence and gore here, with a little bit of substances and not much in the way of lust. So if anything we talked about in this review compromises your convictions in any way, shape, or form, don't worry about watching Disclosure Day. Your convictions are more important as they are to help you become more and more like Jesus. So if anything we talked about prevents you from doing that, this is not the movie for you to watch. But ultimately, the decision is yours to make. So with that wrapped up, it's time to dive into some theological themes that are present within Disclosure Day. And there is a bit of an out of context Steven Spielberg quote that many Christians are a little concerned about, because he's talking about dealing with aliens and how it mixes within scripture, which is a pretty decent part of the film, but let's dive into it. Aliens and things of that sort, they're not meant to say, oh, this disproves God or anything. But it does ask the question of how does that fit within God's design? Because the Bible tells us that we are made in the image of God. So are they made in God's image, or what does that even look like? Which is a big, heavy thought process within the film. One of our lead characters used to be a former nun and talks a bit about just kind of faith, right? And trying to figure out whether or not how aliens fit within that faith, right? How do aliens fit within God's design? There is a scene in which a nun in the film says she does believe there is life outside of Earth and things of that sort. While I will say this, there isn't anything explicitly within scripture that does tie to aliens specifically, whether it's for or against it. But what scripture is clear on is that we are made in the image of God, and that God loved us so much that he sent Jesus to die on the cross on our behalf so that we could have a perfect relationship with God once again. That narrative, the biblical meta-narrative from Genesis to Revelation, that is still clear. Whether or not aliens fit into that, moot point. Because ultimately, what scripture tells us about Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, the beautiful work of the cross, that's the more important part. That's what we should be focusing on. And when it comes to me personally, I don't have an explicit answer. I do find aliens cool, and I enjoy a good sci-fi movie, but I don't have like any sort of evidence or things that I would say I believe in when it comes to aliens in particular. But I will say this though, if aliens do exist, they also need Jesus. All that to say, there is definitely a heavy element of some Christian themes within the film. I would not call this explicitly a Christian movie by any means, but it does tackle the question of how do extraterrestrial life, how does that all fit within God's design and is God's plan? Hopefully that helps you in determining whether or not you want to watch this movie. This leads us into our last conversation as we dive into my thoughts on the film. So one of the things I saw before watching the film is Spielberg talking about how this film is more fact than fiction and things of that sort, which did make it very intriguing. Of course, his last entry was Close Encounters of the Third Kind, at least for the sci-fi genre, and this is his return. There's a lot to like about the movie. I love the chase sequences. I love that we jump right into the action within this movie. It kind of felt very Star Wars-esque to me, which is very, very fun. At the same time as well, there is just a lot of great acting within the film. Josh O'Connor's great. Emily Blunt is absolutely fantastic. I love Colin Firth. I think he's a very underrated actor, and I really enjoy him in this role. Colman Domingo's great, as per usual. He's been in a lot more things recently, and I absolutely love that. I think he's a great actor, and so all these characters are all great within the movie. I will say it does take a while to get to the resolution, but every bit and piece along the journey, for the most part, is solid. It can be very slow paced at points, and then it speeds up really, really quick, and then it kind of slows down a little bit, which can be somewhat jarring at times, but for the most part, it still flows fairly nicely. At the same time as well, I know not a lot of people liked the third act. They enjoyed the first two acts a little bit more, and the third act, they weren't all that crazy about. I'm actually kind of the opposite. Thought for the most part, the first two acts, they were fairly good, and it's fairly solid and enjoyable. The last 15 to 20 minutes of the film, the third act of the movie, I thought was really, really good. Because the film is titled Disclosure Day, there's certain elements that talk about and lead into what happens in the third act. And I know not a lot of people were crazy about the ending. I thought the movie kind of already ended, and so any of the little bonus stuff we got towards the end of the movie was just tacked on. Yet I can understand why people aren't crazy about the film. I wouldn't say this is, Steven Spielberg's greatest film ever, And I wouldn't say, this is a film that would definitely go down as one of his best. I enjoy the film, but it's not one of my favorites of his, which is hard to top things like Jurassic Park and Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark, things of that sort. There's a lot of really great Steven Spielberg movies, but even within that, this is still a very solid movie with a great cast, great score done by the GOAT John Williams, some great visual story moments here, and a great way that Steven's able to capture. Is it my favorite film of the year? No, but it is a film. I would rather go back to this than watch some other films that came out this year, but overall, it's pretty good. So I'm giving it an 8.4 out of 10. Like I said, I do enjoy the film. I thought it overall was solid, but those are my thoughts. So let me know yours down in the comments below. Let's chat all things about this movie in the comments. While you're down there, consider hitting that like, subscribing for us, joining our community here on YouTube. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with us here. We truly appreciate it, and it means the absolute world to us. Before you go, there's a few video recommendations here that YouTube is suggesting to you. If you want to see my thoughts on Jaws, which is one of the most iconic films ever made, done by, of course, the GOAT Steven Spielberg. If you want to check my thoughts on that one, it's right up here for you, and a special video recommended personally for you is down here as well. So if you want to hear my thoughts on those, it's available here, and we'll see you all in the next one.